Hey Trails Collective, this is Pat Early coming to you from Montclair, Virginia, home of the Dairy Queen Track Club. Ian's going to cover a number of races from this past week, but one of significance down here in Virginia was the Capitol Backyard Ultra. This one was, there's my son Ace. Him and his sister have run a mile every day since the beginning of COVID, so today is number 445 in a row. Anyways, the Capitol Backyard Ultra last year was in Maryland. This year was moved to Virginia. It included a pretty deep field this year, and the weather was unseasonably cool. I had the opportunity to run in it, and it was an awesome event. I only made it 22 hours, unfortunately. But nevertheless, Sarah and her crew put on a awesome race with help from Gary Kipling and the Virginia Happy Trails Running Club. It was a really, really awesome event. Congratulations to Steve Slaby, who won the event in an impressive 57 hours. And I'm looking forward to hopefully doing it next year. Off to Ian.
All right, Pat, thanks so much for taking us in this week to the weekly rundown for June 4th, 2021. It sounded like it was a pretty good scene out there at the Capitol Backyard Ultra. Some quality endurance athletes, and it sounds like it was just a good time to be out there and watch. So thanks for that segue. Sorry you weren't the last person standing, but well done regardless, man. And thanks for that clip. All right, so let's start off. I didn't have a whole lot of time to consume media this week. It was a pretty busy weekend putting on my own events. But one piece that did catch my eye today is a webinar that the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference put on with Don Wise and a couple others rather. It was called Finding Less Traveled Trails, and the synopsis was running less traveled trails actually benefits parks. Lightly used trails need our Hokas, Solomons, etc. to maintain the treadway, and our presence discourages illegal ATVs, dumping, and encroachment. And so it was a free webinar. I will plug the link for those of you in the New York, New Jersey area or region. If you want to find some local gems, Don would be the one to point them out. So check it out, and I'll have it embedded as well into the article on the website. All right, so let's see. Events coming up. Let's go to the UltraSignUp Hotlist for the events that are open and about to cap out. I'll give these to you each week. Not that you couldn't look on your own, but I'll try to summarize I'll try to do some of the legwork for you. So one, the Firebird Trail Races, which uses quite a bit of beautiful single track in the Cross Falmouth Trail from Wyndham to Falmouth, Maine. Slated for September 18th, are up 7% this week to being 99% full in the both the 50K and the 13 miler. They have a cool shake-up in format where the entry fee is in the form of proof of a donation to a nonprofit of your choosing. So pretty cool, and get on it while they are still slots available. The Run Amok 50K in Brownsville, Vermont, set for October 17th, is holding at 92% full for the Sunday race. The First State Trail Races 50K, slated for June 12th in Wilmington, Delaware, is coming right up, and it's 6% full, or 6% up this week to being 93% full. Uber Endurance Sports Half Sour, Half Kraut uses mostly shaded and flat single track along the Pennypack Creek in Philly, are up 10% to 95% full. This is a good classic one if you want a pretty fast time in a fun community. Only, I think, 27 spots remaining or less, I think, at this point, but should fill up in this next week. New Jersey's Loopy Looper 12 and 24-hour races being held in August are 95% full. And the last one on this week's Hot List radar, Catamount Ultras 25K in Stowe, Vermont, slated for June 26th. I feel like I've been announcing this one for weeks, and I'm wondering whether just the caps have shifted or upped a couple times, and or whether it's just people dropping out more and more each week, and that just keeps it going. In any case, yet again, they are showing in the final throes of filling their what looks like 600-person field. I think 300 maybe in each distance, ahead of the June 26th, 27th event. So that is a big race that's growing well. Kudos to the crew up there at Catamount. Also, because you've got some of the coolest logos, I think, of any races out there. Nice work. All right, registration's opening this week. One of the long classics, Massanutten Mountain Trails, or MMT, just opened with rollovers also in the mix this year. So including me, I just re-registered, and I think it's down to something like 30 spots remaining. And they're also looking for a new RD starting in 2023. So there is a plug that the individual would start up as co-director for 2022. So if you or somebody you know would like to get in on the potential steering of this classic ship, I'll reach out to them and let them know. And Kevin Sayers, thanks for steering that ship for the past number of years. The Thoroughbred races 10K, 30K, 50K set for October 2nd in La Crosse, Virginia. Open up registration this week on June 3rd. And the Beatdown on Drummer. Curious about that name. I didn't get a chance to check it out. 6-hour event in Keene, New Hampshire is set for September and also set to go live on June 6th for registration. Handful of FKTs on the week. In Massachusetts, Wouter Hoogkamer. It's a pretty outstanding name. 2 hours, 9 minutes for the 21-mile Outback on the Norwottuck Rail Trail, lowering Ian Ridgway's mark by just from January by 7 minutes. New Hampshire, Tory Brooks. 2 hours, 43 minutes for the 9.5-mile 3-time or 3 ascents of Green Mountain, the High Watch Preserve. This is an opening mark or route. In New York, Matt Michella, 2 hours, 20 minutes for the Storm King Round. It is for all of you who maybe don't know Storm King, a really imposing, just burly mountain, so to speak, along the Hudson River. 12 burly miles with 4,500 feet of gain. Lowers Ben Nephew's unsupported male mark from 2014. Long-standing by only 30 seconds. Crazy how close these new marks can be when they're being set. So under 30 seconds, that's pretty wild. Kevin Brightbill, 3 hours, 45 minutes for the 26-mile circuit loop in Winona State Forest. Lowers the prior unsupported mark by 14 minutes. Angela Legg and Steven Estramera, 3 hours, 42 minutes for the Blackhead Range in the Catskills. An 11.6-mile lollipop with a little over 4,600 feet of gain. And this is an opening unsupported mixed gender team mark. And Jeremy Coxis, 18 days, 8 hours, 24 minutes for a self-supported opening mark on the 360-mile Erie Canalway Trail. That is a solid 2.5 weeks. Nice work, Jeremy. All right. So we have a number of results. A number of races ran this past week. I didn't really dig into bringing you the names. You can always look those up on your own in terms of podium finishes, how many were in the mix this week. But I do have a number of voices in from races. So I want that to occupy the majority of this time. Let individuals really speak to the events and the courses and how their days went. Makes it more personal and really gives you potentially, I guess, a window into any events that you may already be interested in or maybe haven't considered to date. So one that ran this past week, an 8-mile, 26.2 mile, and 88K in Brandon, Vermont, was Infinitus. This is one that I reached out to a couple people in advance just to see how their day, well, not knowing how their events would go. Kimberly Wrate, thanks so much for following up. Her day didn't quite go, or her event didn't quite go quite as she had hoped, but maybe that makes it all the better as we can all relate. So Kimberly, cue us into Infinitus.
Have you ever thought about running 554 miles in 10 days and on difficult trails? Well, several people made that a reality at this past weekend's Infinitus. Infinitus is a special race because it has the 888K, which is the longest trail race that I am aware of anywhere, and racers are given 10 days to complete it. Infinitus was created by the Endurance Society, whose founder is Andy Weinberg. And he began Infinitus in 2015, so this is the 6th year that the race was held. It was canceled last year due to COVID. So this year, 2 men became the 5th and 6th individuals to ever finish the 888K. Their names are Sean Daler and Jason Mosel, and they both finished in a little over 9 days, which is typical for that distance. This race this year was much drier than usual. Normally Infinitus is very muddy, so that likely was a factor in some other outstanding performances that took place as well. In the 100-mile race, both the men's and women's records fell. Taylor Verville set the new record in 28 hours, 25 minutes, and 21 seconds. And Keith Nadeau, I apologize if I mispronounced that, set the record in 22 hours, 5 minutes, and 6 seconds. He also had a rather rare sub 24-hour performance at this race. That does not happen too often in the Infinitus 100. My name is Kimberly Wrate. I finished the 100-mile race in 2019 in 44 hours. There are some very generous cutoff times at this race, and I would say do not be fooled by them, because a lot of people find that they actually do need them. This year I switched from the 100-mile distance to the 88K, which is 54 miles. I did not finish due to some chronic issues I've had, mainly with my feet. I got to mile 48 of the 88K, so I only had 6 miles to go. So some information about the course. There is a 7-mile loop and a 20-mile loop. So in the 88K, which I did, you run both loops twice, because one lap is 27 miles. You just add the 2 loops together. 7 plus 20. Now both loops have between 1,500 and 2,000 feet of elevation gain. So that means the 7-mile loop is pretty steep. You basically climb and descend Mount Romance. And on the 20-mile loop, there's a climb and descent right in the middle of the loop. That's called Mount Musalamu. And that takes much longer to do, because the climb, I think, is spread out from about mile 6 to maybe mile 11. And then the descent takes maybe 2 miles. This is just based on my experience in the race. I don't know for sure. And that is the hardest part of the race. You know, it's a big climb right in the middle of a 20-mile loop. I think that is what gives most people the most trouble. I know that certainly is the case for me. But otherwise, the first 6 and last 6 miles of the course have a lot of rolling hills, and they're quite fun. Several miles of dirt road, that's always fun to run on. And there's usually plenty of mud, but this year it was not so bad. I think it's dry all over the Northeast right now. Except at this moment, it's raining. Anyway. So yes, Infinitus went well for many people this year. Now, a little about me coming up this season. I'm not sure what I'll do now that I did not do so well at Infinitus. I mostly will be in the Rochester area in the summer, and possibly in New England, more so in the fall. I probably will be at the Mighty Mosquito, as I always am, at the end of summer, at the end of July. And I would like to attend Virgil Crest on Labor Day weekend in September, if I have healed up well. But otherwise, I will go to the Notchview multi-day race in Western Massachusetts. I just would like to add, one reason I'm uncertain about my schedule is not only because of my injuries, but also because I've had some life changes. I've taken on a new career as a metal worker, and my main focus is on machining. There are things that I would like to build, which will be very practical and useful, and also environmentally friendly. So I'm hoping in the future that when I go to races, I will get to share what I build with all of my trail running friends. And I'd also like to share that there is a new 50-mile race near Syracuse this year. It's called the Morgan Hill Meat Grinder. The last 2 years there's been a marathon and a half marathon. I've done the marathon both years, and it's a very fun race. So I think the 50-mile race will be very exciting. I don't know for sure that I will be there, but if I do, I think I will be glad that I went. So that's Infinitus, and that's also the Morgan Hill Meat Grinder, and that's me. Again, I'm Kimberly Wrate, and I'd like to thank Ian for this opportunity, and I hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much.
And another one that ran this past weekend that was, I saw a lot of attention going into it, a pretty solid field, and a format that's really been growing in popularity was the Capital Backyard Ultra. It was one that Patrick opened us with for this episode. And I was also thankful to hear back in really short order from the last person standing from this. An incredible effort. So bringing you a clip here from Steve Slaby talking about his effort at the Capital Backyard. So take it, Steve.
This is Steve Slaby from Dresden, Maine, and I'm giving you a quick recap of the Capital Backyard Ultra that I competed in last weekend. So the Capital Backyard Ultra was held in Lorton, Virginia, which is the Mason Neck area, a little bit south of Washington, D.C. Sarah Smith is the race director, and the race is in the typical backyard format, where you complete a 4.167 mile loop every hour, and at the start of each hour you have to be in the starting corral in order to start the next loop. If you complete 24 of those loops within a 24-hour period, you get 100 miles in a day. So overall, for me, the race went well. I had a strategy to try to complete the loops with the least amount of energy as possible, and to try to get some sleep between loops and to refuel and rehydrate as well. At the start of the race, we had some cold and rainy temperatures, and that stayed for probably the first 36 to 48 hours. I had a lot of fun during the race, got to meet a lot of new friends, have and share a lot of good stories with each other. Overall, we all called it an experience being out there, and for a number of us it was a first time doing the race, myself included. As far as the race went, for me, everything really seemed to go according to plan. It was one of those days where everything just kind of clicked for me out there. I was able to complete the loops in about 49 or 50 minutes. Starting about 18 hours, I would get 5 or 6 minutes of sleep in between loops, every loop. So that gave me about 2 hours of sleep every 24 hours, kept me mentally fresh. And as far as the pace, that kept my legs nice and strong. At the end of the day, I felt like I could have gone another 12 to 24 hours. It was just one of those days where things seemed to click and the legs stayed strong, and overall I stayed fresh and ready to go. Chris Roberts, what a competitor. I really just can't give him more than enough credit for how the day went. He was super strong out there. His legs were great. And overall, I just want to say thank you, Chris, for a great experience out there, and it was great to spend time with you out there on the trails. Thank you. I also want to send a quick thank you to Sarah Smith for putting on a great race, and to my crew, Nick Wirtz. What a great job keeping me out there and keeping me fresh and going the whole day. And lastly, I've accepted the golden ticket to compete in Big Dog's Backyard Ultra in Bell Buckle, Tennessee in October, and look forward to seeing what I can do out there. Thank you.
So that's a pretty phenomenal, really phenomenal effort. There was another one that also ran in last person standing format, this one in Connecticut, in Berlin, called Run Ragged. And I was able to get 2 clips in. The first one was from the, top female on the day, although I think it made her I think she was the second loser on the podium on the day, maybe third overall, so to speak. A clip here from Julie Malenson Frazier.
Hi, I'm here to give you a race overview report from Run Ragged in Berlin, Connecticut. It is an awesome, awesome course and race, an event, and I highly recommend that everybody who is a trail runner give this a shot. It's so basically it's a last person standing run, which means that it's a 3-mile loop, and runners go ahead and start the loop on every hour starting at 8 a.m. on Saturday. So followed by 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11, 12, and so on, until there's one person who can hold that pace. So it's a challenge for one. It's definitely an endurance test to see how well you can hold up for that amount of time and amount of mileage. It's just incredible. So you could go there and try to do 10 loops, you could try to do 20, you could try to do 24 and make it a 24-hour thing, or you could try to be the last person standing. So everyone else is considered did not finish, unfortunately. but so then then we have the course itself. So the course itself it's 3 miles, as I said before, and I would say it's the typical Connecticut Metacomet Trail terrain. Parts of it are really trap rocky. Some of it are even just like big rocks you have to climb over, or not climb over, but walk across or jog across. Then there's a lot of mud, some flat sections that are very easy to run. So it really is like a mix of what you see typically on Connecticut Metacomet trails. Some of it's single track. I would say a lot of it is more like double, triple lane. The first 1.5 miles, you could pretty much count on it being mostly uphill. It's kind of a up and down uphill, so there are some breaks in the inclines where you could jog in between if you wanted, or just keep walking. And then the 1.5 miles down, you realize, okay, I'm halfway through. I'm going to start jogging this out, make it to the finish line in time to start the next lap. And you can do that just because of the way the course is set up. So it really is. My second halves of each run of each loop were probably faster than my first half of each loop because of that. But then the downhill part isn't completely easy either. Some of it's too steep where you're just catching your weight so you don't like fall on a rock and get hurt. And then parts of it are downhill and you have to like step down because it's a 5-foot drop. So you just have to get down that safely without injuring yourself. And everyone was on the course was polite, like, take your time. I feel like I'm breathing down your back, but take your time, no rush. So it was an awesome course, definitely. The coolest part is you're running with everybody. So you could be running with whoever's going to be the last person standing, or you could be running with someone this is their first trail race and they're going to do a few loops and call it a day. So that's really cool about this run. I would say if you're going to plan to be out there for a day or two, plan on being out there for a day or two. Bring everything you need. Bring a change of clothes. Bring rain gear if it's going to rain. Bring sunscreen, bug spray if it's going to be if it's going to be a sunny day, as my daughter just said. Yep, if it's going to be a sunny day. So this year, 2021, it was not sunny. I don't think we saw the sun or sky clear once. It was rainy from the beginning, and then it cleared for a while through the night. It was actually great through the night, nice and dry. And just when the course had dried out, started to downpour for a few hours for the rest of the race. So that was really, the course just got completely flooded. It was like running through like streams and parts of it. It was so puddly and rocky and muddy. So even on the mud parts at that point, it was too muddy to run because it was too slippery. So the course got harder to keep the pace with just because of the rain. But I would say it was awesome. But the blessing of that rain and the cold weather is that, I think a lot of people didn't drain out their batteries in that first 24 hours because of those cooler temps. You could get food in, no problem, electrolytes in, no problem. So, but if it was going to rain, bring a poncho, prepare for that, bring all the food you think you're going to need. The aid station had everything. They staggered out pizza, donuts, soups, chili even, which I commend those who can have chili while they're running. That's something I did not feel brave enough to try. Those sounded delicious. And the aid station and volunteers were incredible. The race was extremely well organized, and I think one of the cool parts about this race is it's, this year was hosted by Karen and Stacy, who are amazing ultra runners in their own rights, and they just knowing that they would be out there doing the same thing is really cool. So it's just a fun day of the community getting together, getting out there, pushing our limits, seeing how we can push each other's limits, and giving it your best shot. So definitely a race worth trying if you're interested in that style or format, and seeing how long you can go.
Nice work, Julie. A really also phenomenal effort. And then also hearing from the last person standing from this day, a frequent flyer on the FKT boards, also podium finisher on the races that he enters, the very fit and talented and, dude's just tough, Justin Kousky.
Hey, Trails Collective, it's Justin here. I ran the Run Ragged Last Person Standing race a few days ago now, and just want to give a quick recap of what transpired. So first I should say the race is put on by the Connecticut Trail Mixers. They put on a few races per year. I think of this one as probably the best race, maybe at least it's the longest race, so I would prefer that. I'd say the race directors, Stacy and Karen, really did an awesome job this year of keeping the race well organized, good communications ahead of time, and then during the race we had the opportunity on each lap to really spend some time at the aid station getting food, getting drinks, and it was just a constant sense of like nourishment and replenishing. It was really great to have support there every 5K loop, so you felt like when you were going out again you were refueled and ready to do another lap. So I'd say they did a great job, and I would encourage everybody to come to the race in the future. In terms of the actual race format, for those that don't know, it's a last person standing format, which basically means you do a certain amount of distance, and then that generally would take an hour or so, and you can run it fast or run it slow. So some people were maybe running it in 35 minutes for the 5K loop, and then they would sit around and wait for the hour mark, and then other people would try to run it in closer to 55 minutes and then not have as much time to rest, but then also not have to go as fast when they're running. So there's a little bit of a strategy question of what do you do there. I think I saw people going fast and staying a long time, and I saw people going slow and staying a long time, so I'm not sure there's a best strategy. Maybe it's just whatever works for you. So anyway, that was the format. It's a little different than some of the other backyard ultra types in that the loop is a bit shorter. It's only a 5K loop, and generally I think most of the other ones are about 4.1 miles. And so it's interesting that with the shorter loop, I think even though it's more technical, you actually spent a bit less time on your feet than maybe some of the other races, and you could go a little faster than some of the other races that have been put on. So that was also an interesting wrinkle to it. For those that don't know, the Run Ragged race is run on Ragged Mountain in Connecticut. It's a pretty gnarly course. I'd say definitely slowed us down. The weather was awful, which was fun too, but with the weather being so awful, I think that also slowed folks down quite a bit. So the race started on 8 a.m. on Saturday. We had maybe 3 or 4 hours of solid rain, and so the race got very wet. It was obviously a lot of water crossings in general, and then with the rain, everything was just flooded, and a lot of rocks and roots and things like that. But everybody persevered for those first few hours, and I don't think we had any drops until quite a bit later, which was great. And then it stopped raining for almost, I'd say, 20 hours or so. And so the weather was actually pretty good, very cool by New England standards for this time of year. It was probably in the mid-40s for much of the race. And so, folks really went out there. A lot of people were setting personal records in terms of time or distance. I thought that was really inspiring. I got a chance to do a few loops with just various folks who were out there on the course. And I would say, I really got a lot of energy from running and walking with those folks. It was just great to see people out there, and I think everybody's really having a blast and enjoying themselves. So I ended up sticking around for about 34 hours, so I was the last one standing. The last few folks were, we had a cohort that had sort of survived the night, and then I think we'd started, running together the second day. And the second day at first was, really relaxing. It was after the sun had come up, the weather was nice, and then it started pouring, which pretty much stuck around for the duration of the race. I'd say the race, because of the weather, was really challenging, but I think it was actually more enjoyable in some sense because it was just so absurd. The rain was coming down like an inch an hour, it felt at some points, and the trail was just covered in water for a few hours there as we made our way through the loops. So anyway, I had a blast. I highly recommend it. And props to everybody who set a time or distance PR out there and for surviving so long. I thought it was really great. Anyway, take care.
A good classic event that went down in Moton, PA, a 13.1 mile roughly race that is also a good classic. One of the oldest, I think, trail races in our region. That'll be in an article that I have posted up here pretty soon. I'll get there with a window ahead. The Charlie Horse Half Marathon. Pretty wild course and format. And to cue us into Charlie Horse, overall winner, and one of my high school teammates, Russell Burns.
Hey everyone, Russell Burns here, coming to you from Morgantown, Pennsylvania, and here to give you a race recap on the Charlie Horse Half Marathon, a Berks County, Pennsylvania staple. Just to share a little background on this race, it takes place every year on Memorial Day weekend, and it's historically been a race where you take a school bus over to a place called Rustic Park in Birdsboro, Pennsylvania, and you run the Horseshoe Trail back over to a place called Sleepy Hollow Athletic Club in Moulton, Pennsylvania, for the finish. But due to COVID concerns this year, there were no busing options. So this year the race was recast from Sleepy Hollow Athletic Club as a 5 mile out, 5 mile back, and basically a 5K-ish lollipop adventure run. So little history on the race itself. The name Charlie Horse comes from the fact that the horse is the Horseshoe Trail, which is where the majority of the race is run. The Charlie side is from the longtime race director, Charlie Crowell, who is still very actively involved in the race. This race itself is a huge Special Olympics of Berks County benefit run, so it obviously supports a great cause. Last piece of housekeeping I want to call out is just that, I've been running this race off and on for about 20 years now. And, this race was a little different this year in the fact that Ben Crowell, the longtime starter for the race, he actually passed away the week of the race this year. So thought it was an important call out just to say that Ben was a great guy. He was a local Special Olympics athlete, competed in a variety of sports, bocce ball, bowling, floor hockey, volleyball, basketball. So, Ben will be sorely missed. So I say, rest in peace, Ben, and thoughts and prayers to your family. So on to the race itself. So I had the race at about 12 and a quarter on my GPS. I think most people were closer to about 12:1. I may have missed a turn, which is probably my fault. I also had the race at about 1,700 feet of elevation gain. So on to the actual details of the race itself. So the way the race started out this year is about a half mile on the road, and then you jumped into some short, steep, single track, muddy, rocky, classic Pennsylvania stuff. So I thought just to get out of some trouble this year, I'd push the pace early and try and get out to a little bit of a lead, but really just to avoid some congestion and things as we got into the single track portion. So had the lead for about a mile and a half, got picked off by two speedsters, Brian Wiest from somewhere in the Philadelphia area, and Andrew Brown from somewhere in the Fleetwood, Pennsylvania area. They both passed me around that mile and a half point. I stayed pretty close to them till about mile 3 when I did some slip and slide action around a cornfield. Still hurting from that a few days later, so we all recover at some point. But we actually stayed in those positions the whole rest of the way. Brian went on to win, and I think right around 134. Andrew was second in 137 and change, and I was third in about 143. But this race itself, classic Pennsylvania run, right? So mud, rocks, 48-degree weather, pouring down rain, wind blowing in your face most of the way. So pretty much what you come to learn and love, rocks and roots of Pennsylvania. But nothing really flat on this course. You're up, you're down, you're on roads, you're on dirt, you're in mud, you're in ponds, variety of things. So, after the 5 mile out and back slop fest, you got to come back to the starting area and then do a 5K-ish loop through ponds and streams and stuff that you just don't really want to run through. But we all survive and we get stronger from it. But really great race, awesome volunteers, awesome awards, well-marked course. So again, just to give a little shout out to the race itself, you also get some pretty cool swag if you're lucky to win something. So here's what the medal looks like. Pretty cool piece. Got a fanny pack for whenever I decide to go back out in public again, which will happen at some point. And a really cool race shirt as well. So from here, what do? I don't know. I'm semi-retired, I think, these days. So hopefully I'll get in some cross-country 5K action this summer, work on a little speed on the dirt. And then other than that, some hiking in Montana in August. But I hope everybody stays safe and healthy and upright this running season. Thanks so much.
Nice work, Russ. Good to see you continuing to hammer away in your getting to be old age. Well done, sir. Well done. And then on my plate, what I put on this past weekend were the Cayuga Trails 50s here in Ithaca, New York, a 50K and 50 mile. Probably one of, if not the most beautiful, I think, beautiful races, beautiful course in the Northeast. It is pretty spectacular, a blend of wider open park trails, as well as single track, waterfalls throughout, stream crossing in the middle. Just a really beautiful event. And also put in a shorter, the 10K or roughly 6.5 mile distance in the mix is Lucifer's Crossing. And that also ran in concert with the 50s. I'll probably peel it back out on its own next year, but it was also woven into the weekend. So I was able to get a number of clips from individuals post-race, including the winners of men's and women's winners of the 50K as well as the 50 mile. But I want to start with a clip from Damien Monteiro. He was an individual that I saw at least once or twice as he came through the Y camp or staging area aid station. Looked like he was just in it. Looked like he was, he looked good. Strong, consistent, and definitely going after it. And chatting with him in one time in passing, he had mentioned that it was his first trail race over, I think, a half marathon. And so I just keyed into, it's pretty awesome for those that are going out after their first. Cayuga Trails is a pretty fair and honest course. I think it has, I don't know, I forget what it is, somewhere around, I don't know, 8,000 or 9,000 feet of gain for the 50 mile, including quite a bit of steeps, has some water crossings, and yeah, it's just a pretty honest course. So it's cool to see people going out and after it. And he was one of them that was out there getting it done and looking good. So I'm going to start with this clip of me chatting with Damien post-race. All right, Damien, nice work out there, man. I think each time I saw you just come through here, you look pretty, you just look good. It seemed like it was a very intentional effort, that it, I don't know, you were just like focused and very just in the moment. And then over here, hearing you at the aid station say it was your first trail race over a half marathon, I think it's cool. So I guess, what do you think of how to go for you versus what you were expecting, and then in the context of your first ultra?
Well, it definitely wasn't easy, but I think I fared better than I expected. You know, I hadn't done anything over a half marathon, so I wasn't really sure what to expect in terms of the course, in terms of the distance. So the goal early was to stay within myself, stay with a nice, easy effort, and try to just maintain that effort throughout. I think I sort of surprised myself with by finishing. I really didn't know what I had in me, so it was just awesome. Just, thanks for putting on the event. And
Totally. So have you done some longer efforts to build up, or how's your training been?
The training gradually, increased. I'd have 3 or 4 week training blocks, and the goal for each training block was to build the aerobic base. So I did get some 20 milers in. So I felt confident. Before I started up the first couple of climbs, but I felt confident that I knew that I could get the distance in. I'd never really prepared for the hills that I saw today. I'm from New York City. There's just nothing that compares. And so, I've done some trails in Harriman State Park and Bear Mountain, but there's nothing there that compares to this. This was a true test. The goal to do this was just to see how far I could push myself and just see, with all the running that I do, what sort of output that I could, sort of get out. So pleasantly surprised, excited.
How about your first time through with ultra? Typically, did the kind of the hurt or the beat down, or when kind of the wheels come off, did you have one of those moments that you hadn't experienced in the 20 miles or less before?
I've had issues with cramps. For several races. It was sort of in my head that anything over an hour, my calves would cramp. Today with the weather, it was sort of difficult, trying to figure out what sort of gear I should wear. So I think I was overdressed, and my coach said if you feel hot, then you are hot, and start shedding layers. So I shedded one layer, And then around mile 12, like I started to cramp up and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. You know, I can get the miles in, like I've done the work. I can get through this. And I sort of had to like triage like what's going on. And I realized like, you know, just like sweating a lot. And like I couldn't replace the electrolyte loss. And I was like, you know, I need to take off this outer layer and just see what happens. And if nothing improves, back to the drawing board. But, you know, I took it off and got some fluids in, the cramps went away. So I sort of like laughed at myself like, lesson learned. I'm at mile 15, mile 16, 30 miles seems doable. And then the community was awesome. I mean, just like everyone I ran by sort of reaffirmed that I can get this through, and it was great.
And you did.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, what else you got coming up? Anything that's on the horizon that you're looking at?
I got some craziness on the horizon. I have a Spartan Ultra in October, which is 30 miles with obstacles.
That'll be your first time doing the Ultra.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think I want to do another Ultra between now and then. Just to try to like see if I can troubleshoot some of the issues that I had today. Not so much worried about time, but just like a better experience. I don't know if that makes sense. If I can sort of get through cramp free, to be, something to shoot for. But it was just a great time out there today. Like I said, everybody was awesome. I mean, everyone at the aid station and everyone that I ran by. I mean, there's some impressive runners out here, the 50 milers, the top 50K runners, and they were all as grateful as everyone else. I mean, they were cheering me on, running at amazing paces. So it was just a great experience all around.
Cool. Well, great job, man.
Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Totally. So well done, Damien. Nice work finishing off your first ultra and longer trail race. You look great out there. All right, in the 50K field, the winners, I am going to plug in a clip here for women's 50K winner Jenna Bensko. Has some Ithaca roots, I think a Cornell grad maybe, triathlon, some in her history, but really looked tough out there. She looked really positive throughout the day, each time I saw her, and pretty stoked post-race. So Jenna, nice work, and here is post-race clip. All right. Jenna, I think I only saw you come in the finish here, but you look great. Tell me about your day.
Yeah, it was an incredible course. Started off, it was raining this morning, but the mud made it a ton of fun, and there were a ton of fun people out there. Aid stations were great, packed with fun stuff. River crossing was way more fun than I thought it was going to be. It actually felt really nice to get the feet wet.
Yeah, so what was it, like just feet? I didn't see it
no.
This morning. What's
it was like up to my hips.
Oh, was
for
it
sure.
really
Yeah. Like my shorts were soaked by the
Oh, wow. And I guess that's it. I mean, it felt cold when the rain was coming down, but once it cleared, it seemed like a pretty perfect running temperature.
It was incredible. Yeah, I dropped the rain jacket after coming through here, and it was great weather for the rest of the day.
So even that water crossing still felt pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
So good job, man. Ow! So what, is this your first 50K?
This is my first 50K race. I did some last summer, but of course there weren't any races going on. So yeah, this is my first official trail race.
Right. Oh, just trail race outright. Oh,
absolutely.
Wow. And background with some other distances, or what's your background?
Yeah, traditionally started doing marathon running when I was in college. And then got into the trails last year when everything was canceled. Spent a lot of time in the White Mountains.
Yep. And your time was what today? Do you know?
5:25.
5:25. And do you have an expectation coming in?
Absolutely not. Yeah, just to have fun.
Yep. Sweet. And what? Where are you coming from? Where are you out of?
Boston, but I went to school in Ithaca, so it was a good excuse to get back up here.
Sweet. But okay, so some history here. But you haven't necessarily. So you've been on some of the trails prior?
Actually, no, I did not trail run at all when I was in school here. I did a lot of road running when I was here. And yeah, I've only really started trail racing this past year.
Cool. And so it's probably fun to come back then to Ithaca for a long weekend. And
absolutely. I love this place so much. So it's a really good excuse to get back up here.
Any expectations for the course and how it played out? Or what do you think about how it was laid out?
I was very scared of getting lost, which did not happen. And people were at the perfect spots where I did not get lost. But it was a fun course. It was really runnable. Yeah, way better than like the whites, which I was used to.
And so marathon background, probably your body was probably ready for it? I mean, you've been out long, you're used to that, that's not too different?
Yeah. For sure the elevation is a little bit different coming from Boston. I have not gotten much elevation in this past year, but definitely had the mileage on. So.
Sweet. And so what do you got after this? Anything that's planned?
I'm doing Gunstock Trail Festival in June, and then I'm actually fast packing the Tahoe Rim Trail in July with one of my friends that's running the 50 miler today.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
How many days, or what's the plan?
We have 6 days with our flights, but we're hoping for like 4 days.
On the trail?
Yeah, 170.
That should be, and that's what month is it?
End of July.
End of July, sweet.
Yeah.
And then anything for the fall?
I'm supposed to run Boston.
That's right, they pushed it back, right? Is that September? Is that
October 11th.
It's October 11th.
Yeah.
It's good. So we can stack Virgil as a precursor to Boston for a good...
Exactly, that's the plan.
Boston's going to feel really short comparatively.
Yes, it is.
Cool. Well, great job.
Awesome.
It would be good to see you out there. You look great coming in, so congrats.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Great race.
And on the men's side, Justin Scheid, I think. I don't know whether it's Scheid or Sheed, but one of the favorites on the day came out and also just looked great, both during as well as post-race. So here is my clip with Justin. All right, Justin. So your first Cayuga Trails, but not your first 50K. So what'd you have coming into Cayuga today?
Yeah, so my last 50K was back in February. I did a race out in Pennsylvania, and since then I've just been keeping the mileage up. Just wanted to get some good training runs in for the JFK 50 later this year. And it was on the calendar. Actually, it was on the wait list, and unfortunately enough, I guess people must have dropped, or just with COVID restrictions easing back, it was able to get in. So it was awesome. Yeah.
And what was the 50K you just did?
The 50K was a naked Bavarian back in February. It was supposed to be in December, and then it got pushed to February. And I just saw it, and there were still registrations available. I was like, let me just jump in. And so without really doing, just sort of my first long run of the year, but I just took it real easy. And then this is definitely by far the hilliest I've done. The only other 50K that I really did was my brother got me into it a few years ago. We went out to Oregon and did the Tillamook Burn 50K. And so in terms of elevation, this is like my second most elevation in a 50K. And then my first as far as like all the steps and up and down. But so I thought my legs handled it very well. I definitely got fatigued and tired, but even running the second loop, once you get up the Pine, the big hill, I felt it was all very runnable from there, even the ups and downs. So despite it being sort of 28 miles plus on the legs, I was able to still keep a nice rhythm. So.
Yeah, and I guess that's true. I mean, in terms of how I designed the course, once you clear that, my hope is that it's just a fun.
Yeah, it's the most funnest part. Yeah, you just try to keep your rhythm and just try to focus on the form and keep the legs up, because you can definitely feel like the knots building. But it's so very runnable, and it's a really smooth surface, which is great. Because a lot of the trails that I just train on, sometimes you come down, especially like in the Delaware Water Gap in Pennsylvania, you come down, it's all rocks and boulders, and you really got to be careful of the footing. Here it was really easy and smooth to just kind of make the turn, and all the pink signage was perfect. It was all right where you needed to be to kind of ease you into the turn. So nothing was a surprise, and then the volunteers were phenomenal. I felt like there was a couple times where I was going to the left, they're like, no, to the right, and yelling at me to get on the right course.
And that was thankful. That's kind of the unplanned upside to the COVID restrictions and permitting and having more marshals on the course.
Yeah.
I was kind of thankful for the amount of people out there.
Yeah.
And the kind of the weather. Good job, Riley.
Yeah.
Riley won the naked Bavarian.
Oh,
nice. Race 40 miles.
Okay, nice, yeah.
Hoping to go for the 50-mile win out here. Weather change your plans at all, or did you feel good out there?
Yeah, I felt good. I know it was funny because I was watching the weather forecast before coming up on Friday, and I saw it, and it was raining all day, and I was like, oh, it's going to be a bit of a washout. But when I went to pick up the number, I got the running stores like, no, you probably haven't been on the trails out here, but they normally don't get too bad in the rain. I was like, oh, perfect. That'd be great, because I was prepared for like a mud bath.
Yeah.
And the trails were surprisingly good. There was definitely some puddles, but much better than what I would have felt for how much rain we've had. But even better was the rain stopped after the first loop. I felt like I wore the rain breaker. I actually felt like a little bit overheated, and then just dropped it, and then the sky was clear. I mean, fortunately, rain's been holding off for the last couple hours.
I imagine as long as you're moving, it was a pretty perfect running temperature.
The running temperature was great. Yeah, I mean, it was being in the woods, you don't really feel there, no wind, no anything. So, and even the rain that was dripping down wasn't enough to get you real wet. So,
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so JFK, and then, sorry, you may mention, but something in between?
Yeah, so I was thinking if the Delaware Water Gap 50K goes on, yeah, definitely we're interested in doing that, and maybe even the Virgil race that you mentioned, because I definitely just want to keep trying to build up the fitness and treat these as like extended long runs, because it's one thing I don't have a ton of people to train with, so getting on there and having some camaraderie on the trails makes these runs a lot more fun and enjoyable.
Yeah.
So.
Well, cool. Well, great job today. Just coming in, you looked great. You were flowing, so great job.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And in the 50-mile field, it was great to have these two individuals. Both are friends or acquaintances. Daniel Grip was the overall winner on the day and just ran, I think he was on his own a lot out there. I think Johnny from Connecticut was with him maybe for the first circuit or so, but he ran solid. So Daniel, nice work, and clip here. All right, Dan, nice work. So you're just about to say something about the Cayuga Trails 50 today. I thought you looked really solid each time coming through. You looked on point, felt pretty confident in terms of where you're going and headed, and you look consistent. Tell me about your day, or tell me about the course, or some things that stood out.
Well, the mud stood out for sure. It was chilly, it was muddy. It was steep, a lot of short, steep stuff. I definitely noticed, having run this 2 years ago, that it was a lot more difficult with the double buttermilk climb. And I found it more difficult. I did shave off about an hour from the time I had 2 years ago, but I feel like I ran maybe the most solid 50-mile race I've done. Felt pretty strong throughout.
You looked pretty consistent throughout, and that's
thanks.
What maybe I didn't catch that when we were talking, but so yes, wow, so this was an hour better than your previous time before.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, that's for sure saying something on the revised course.
Yeah.
And so I know you've popped up in some of like the FKTs. You just ran well right out in Connecticut, but how's your fitness, or what are some of your build-up metrics been?
As far as like what I've been doing, training?
Yeah, or like racing, or how any things that have like gauged fitness that you felt a certain way coming into today?
I guess just I try to make sure to always do a really long run, and I've been extending those. 2 weeks ago, I do a lot of races too. So 2 weeks ago, I did the 6 hours at the reservoir, and that was kind of like a training for this. Did like a 40-miler the week before that. So I try to like consistently do, I guess I run less days than most people, but the same amount of miles and trails.
When you say less days, like how many days a week are you running? What's your typical week?
3 to 4 runs a week, I'd say.
And are you doing something in addition to the long run? Are you doing something that's like a quality or like a speed session as well? Or
I've been recommended to do speed sessions and stuff. I'm always doing trails, and I feel like you get a lot of variety off of doing the trails. Like there's sections where you can, do speed and all different things. But that'd be a good idea. I think in the future I may go into that.
Yeah. Who knows, right? That could go either way. I mean, seems like you're running well now, and things are progressing pretty well. So who knows? I mean, maybe you benefit from speed, maybe you wouldn't, but I don't know.
If I start to slow down, I'll try something new.
So today you and Johnny ran together. I think a bit in the beginning. It felt you had some company.
Yeah, he was with me all the way till coming out of Buttermilk, I think. So that was really good company. We actually missed a turn together and figured it out.
So up in that kind of raw loop?
It was actually coming out to the Upper Treeman area. We kind of went straight. We didn't cut over on the Gorge Trail. We just went straight and then saw the flags for the coming back. And I was like, wait, no, this it's not right. So, and then when the third place guy caught up, we saw him and we're like, oh yeah, okay. But yeah, it was good company. He was really fun to talk to. I play music. He was a music theater major, so we had a lot to talk about. And
Cool. Yeah. And then the nature of the course. Where are you? New Hampshire? Where are you coming from again?
Massachusetts. Yep.
Are you able to get some good elevation work back, or what do you think of this course versus some of the other stuff you've done?
Yeah, I think, in Western Mass, I've got elevation available all over the place, and it's a short drive to like New Hampshire or Vermont from where I am. I'm kind of like right in the corner of those two states there. As far as the difference here, I'd say is that it's shorter, steeper climbs It's never really flat, and it's fairly technical, in a lot of places too. Similar technical, I'd say, but the climbs though are steeper and shorter.
Yeah.
Not so short.
Yeah, and and it's fun to branch out too. So when I raced or ran Promised Land just a few weeks ago, like I was looking forward to some of the longer climbs, but everybody was talking about like the apple orchard climb or something like that at the end, where it was talking about it getting steep, and then it's like these stairs, and I'm envisioning this just total monster in my head. But then I got there and I was like, well, I guess I'm used to Ithaca, where everything's just, we don't have long climbs, but there's steep stuff. Like this is not that steep.
Yeah. You're like, I run gorges.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We don't have 4 mile climbs, but so I guess right to your point, that's what a lot of this course is.
Yeah.
Climbs.
Yeah, and it is difficult. I found it very challenging, especially with this new course, which I prefer more challenging. So I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Cool. And then what else you got coming up for the season or the year?
I'm gonna be looking at a 100-miler in the fall. Actually, I'm thinking of Virgil Crest. Yep. So I was gonna ask you about that later, but it might be. I'm looking for maybe something less runnable.
Sure.
But coming up, I got a kind of a strange combo. 6 days apart, I'm gonna do Mount Washington Road Race and then Manitow's Revenge.
Oh.
So I don't know how that's going to work out.
Maybe it'll be fine, right? I mean, it seems like the impact on the body from Washington shouldn't be that intense. I mean, it's a very hard effort, but you shouldn't be beat down from it per se.
Yeah, I think if it was the other way around, it'd be a problem. You know, Washington first, it's almost just like a big hill workout, a giant hill workout. But yeah.
And Manitou's you've run well before?
I haven't run it before.
You haven't run Manitou's. I was just trying to place your time, but I was like, no, you haven't.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a good one. I think a lot of the top runners from the Northeast are going to be there. So.
Yep. Huh. Well, if I were any younger and fitter, it'd be good to get you on film some there, but I don't think I will. But cool. Well, you look good today, so congrats.
Thank you, Ian.
Yeah.
Thanks for putting this on. It was awesome.
For sure. And last one, Riley Brady, I think finished second overall in the day. Maybe, I forget what Riley's time was, maybe like 8:30, somewhere in there. Forget off the top of my head, but also ran really phenomenal. Riley is wicked tough, very fit at the moment. The target was the Vermont 100 course record this year before it was set back, and looking for some other opportunities in my Virgil Crest 100 in September, and looking for one ahead of that. But here is post-race with Riley. All right, Riley here after your 50-mile win at Cayuga Trails. I just want to know, do you think it's you can owe the win to looking forward to that awesome puffy outfit you're wearing right there? Could that be it?
Probably. It's definitely one of the better acquisitions I've made for cold races. And this is the first time at Cayuga Trails where it's actually been cold. It's always really hot.
It is always really hot. This is the first, I think, wet year that we've had, let alone cold year.
Yeah.
So well planned and well played on this one.
I owe this to my mom.
Mom, that's a good mom. That is a really good mom. She comes and helps all the time and supports you and crews you.
Yes.
And I'm guessing very proud of Riley.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's what mothers do.
It is what mothers do and are. So yeah, haven't been here before. What were your expectations coming into the day and how to go down?
I mean, I knew the course was going to be different this year than in previous years when I've run it. I was, based off of the old course, I was shooting for like 9-ish hours. Great if I snuck in under that. Other than that, I really didn't know what to expect because a lot of the course was different and we were looping back around. But it went well. It was a fun day. Yeah, as soon as I got tired of the rain stopped. So that was perfect.
And what was your finish time again?
I'm not sure. I think it was like 8.5-ish.
Yeah. So maybe a combination of we're still feeling out what this course will do in some of the fast times and you just having a really strong race out there?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if I said this last time, but I'm feeling really good these days. I feel like I'm in good shape, and I feel like mentally I've kind of flipped a switch where I just am like dum-da-da-dum, da-da-dum, one foot in front of the other, like totally in the moment, not really thinking about what's ahead or behind. And I think that helps a lot. And obviously not really knowing what's coming next, it's easier to do that.
And not coming next, I mean, you're looking for another 100 in, you said earlier than Virgil. Have you kept looking around?
Yeah, I'm still looking, but now I'm contemplating doing my own thing. We've got a canal path near where I live, and I can do a 7-mile loop. So I'm thinking about just seeing how fast I can do that loop repeatedly. It would be really boring, but all my friends and family could come and like ride their bike and run with me, so that would help.
And so for 100 worth of that, give or take?
Yes,
Or,
yeah.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, I know. I haven't committed to it yet, but I just can't find any races. I think because everybody's rolling over their fields from previous years.
I wonder if you can get into Twisted Branch.
Well, I don't know if I want to do Twisted Branch right before Virgil Crest. I don't know.
So that is 3 weeks. That's pretty close.
Yeah.
All right, and anything takeaways like us in this course to convey to, I guess, your experience of this new course configuration? Or?
I mean, I enjoyed it, but I like all of your races. The trails around here are lovely, and I mean, the only snafu was the like little flag picking, which was really annoying, and I don't understand why somebody would do that, but it all worked out. So yeah, it was a great course.
And you didn't take any swims? Water was pretty high?
I did.
Oh, you did take a swim?
Well, I didn't go all the way down, but the water, it comes up to almost my hips. Yeah, so it was pretty deep, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. I think Amelia took the railroad instead.
Oh, she took the high water route?
But like in past years, I've actually had to swim through, so it wasn't so bad.
Good job. Well, you look great out there, so congrats on another solid run.
Thank you.
Nice work.
Thanks for putting on a great race.
And two that I didn't get a chance to really dig into that also ran this past weekend that I'll have the results linked posted for. One is the Cowbone Trail Run, Sharpsburg, Maryland. It was a 6-hour, 12-hour, 24-hour. And the other one was the Frosttown Trail Festival in Naples, New York, 10K and 25K, put on by the crew at Ironwood Adventure Works, also putting on Catamount coming right up. No doubt a crazy busy time on your end. Hopefully it went pretty well, or actually really well, despite the rain we had all week. All right, so they were voices in on the week. Congrats to everybody. Thank you so much to all of you for submitting clips. And let's see, we will close out with just some of the events coming up the weekend ahead. Chicora Mountain Race in Tamworth, New Hampshire, put on by Christina Fulchik, and Rockhopper Racing looks like it's headed in with 265 entrants. So hopefully they are holding in there and running. And then World's End 50K, 100K in World's End State Park in PA. I am currently in the 100K lineup. And I would imagine like most, if not all people, sitting here, one part of my brain saying, I can't run 100K right now. And the other part saying, sure you can. So I know I'm going to have probably 30 miles of the pain cave and regretting said decision out there. But it's supposed to be a really beautiful course, one I volunteered at all year last year, and typically conflicts with Cayuga Trails, so I haven't really been able to run it in the past. But excited to get out there. Wonderful community, great RD and crew around him. So yeah, that's what's on my deck this weekend. June 12th, first state trail race in Wilmington, Delaware. The MCW King and Queen of the Hill 3-hour, 6-hour in Pompton Plains, New Jersey. The 666 trail race at 400 minutes in length in Exeter, Rhode Island. Brant Hill Challenge 1-hour, 3-hour in Elmira, New York. Windsor Castle 10-hour in Smithfield, Virginia. Half-hour, half-kraut in Philly. And then on June 13th, the Nipmuc South Trail Race 14.5 miler in Mansfield, Connecticut. So that's what's coming up this next couple weeks. I will check you after my carnage this weekend. Hope you all do something fun, and I will catch you next week. All right. See ya.